Hello, everyone. Welcome to the News Browse News broadcast. CTV News reports that British Columbia's Premier David Eby announced a new task force on Monday to address the economic fallout from the ongoing war in Iran. The Premier cited concerns over price shocks and impending supply chain disruptions. The internal government task force is set to begin meetings this week, focusing on key sectors such as healthcare, agriculture, energy, and transportation, which are anticipated to be affected in the coming weeks. Economic Growth Minister Ravi Kahlon emphasized the necessity of local action after a glimmer of hope for a resolution to the conflict was extinguished by failed ceasefire talks between the U.S. and Iran over the weekend. The U.S. military's subsequent announcement of a blockade of all Iranian ports and coastal areas, coupled with Iran's threats against Persian Gulf and Gulf of Oman ports, signals further global market instability. Kahlon highlighted the already felt impact on fuel prices, noting that 20% of the world's crude oil passes through the Strait of Hormuz. Disruptions are also expected for crucial supplies like helium, aluminum, and fertilizer, which could affect everything from food to basic medicine. Premier Eby also plans to ask Prime Minister Mark Carney to convene a meeting of premiers to discuss these national economic impacts. Victoria. British Columbia's Provincial Health Officer Dr. Bonnie Henry has voiced her disappointment regarding the recent reversal of the province's decriminalization trial for illicit drugs. Speaking at a roundtable discussion on the 10th anniversary of BC's public health emergency related to the toxic drug crisis, Henry indicated her belief that political pressure was behind the decision to end the trial. The Canadian press reports that Henry clarified the initiative was intended to support individuals using drugs by reducing stigma rather than legalizing drugs. She noted that while decriminalization was never going to be a silver bullet, it unfortunately became a touchstone that caused harm due to public misunderstanding. Premier David Eby cited that the policy didn't work due to concerns over public drug use and safety. Critics, including the BC Conservative critic for mental health and addictions, Claire Ratty, argue that past NDP government policies have been misguided. Dr. Bernie Pauly of the University of Victoria emphasized the need for a shift from criminalization to a public health approach, including drug supply regulation. Despite the reversal, Health Minister Josie Osborne affirmed the government's commitment to harm reduction and expanding treatment. Artificial Intelligence Minister Evan Solomon announced he will meet with Anthropic senior leadership this week in response to widespread global concerns surrounding the company's new AI model. Mythos departmental officials are scheduled to meet Anthropic this evening, followed by the ministers' meeting on Tuesday. Solomon emphasized that the Canadian government's top priority is to safeguard Canadians, their data, and national institutions, working closely with Canadian cybersecurity experts. Anthropic has stated that while the Mythos AI model will not be released to the public, it has already identified thousands of previously unknown vulnerabilities across all major operating systems and web browsers. This issue has garnered international attention, with reports indicating that the U.S. Treasury Secretary convened a meeting with major Wall Street banks to discuss the cyber risks posed by Mythos. Similarly, British financial regulators are reportedly holding urgent talks on the matter. In Canada, the Bank of Canada's Financial Sector Resiliency Group, which includes the Central Bank, the Finance Department, and major Canadian banks, discussed Mythos on Friday. This report comes from the Canadian press. The Elementary Teachers Federation of Ontario, ETFO, has announced its rejection of the Ford government's proposed Putting Student Achievement First Act 2026, which seeks to significantly alter the role of school board trustees. The union views these changes as a rollback of local democracy, arguing that the legislation removes essential powers needed by trustees to effectively represent families and students. The bill proposes increasing oversight via a chief executive officer, introducing a chief education officer role, eliminating most trustee expense accounts, capping honorariums at $10,000, and reducing the number of trustees to a maximum of 12 per board, mainly affecting the Toronto District School Board. Additionally, ETFO criticizes plans for ministry-approved classroom resources and the inclusion of attendance and participation in final marks, stating it erodes professional judgment. Opposition parties, including the NDP and Green Party, echo concerns, calling the bill a power grab that centralizes decision-making and silences local voices. Education Minister Paul Calandra defends the changes as a way to remove distractions and refocus trustees on their core responsibilities. This news comes from City News Everywhere. The Canadian press reports that an Ontario family is mourning the loss of Hassan Haidar, a 38-year-old Canadian man from Windsor who was killed last week by Israeli forces in southern Lebanon. Haidar had traveled to Lebanon in November to be with his wife and 5 children and tend to his horses on family property, while his family had moved to a safer location amidst intensified Israeli attacks in the region. He chose to stay behind for his animals. According to his brother, Mohammed Hussein Haidar, Hassan was on the phone with his wife last Thursday when he heard cries for help from a man shot by a drone outside his home. When Hassan went to assist, he was shot in the head and killed. His sister, Fatima, described him as a very social, kind, and educated mechanical engineer and a devoted animal lover who dreamed of a large horse farm. The Lebanese Health Ministry states that the conflict between Israel and Iranian-backed Hezbollah has resulted in over 1,700 deaths since its outbreak. That's all for this video. Thank you for watching. See you in the next video.